Hey there folks, Plisken by 51mm again, and today, since it's going to be raining here after a while and it's supposed to rain the rest of the week, figured I'd do some videos on some of these old gun digest books that I've got. I've had these for a long time, these two right here. This one is more recent. It's not the gun digest, it's modern gun values. I got this one more recently, but this one's an older publication than these two. And then I bought this one at a antique store here back in February, I do believe. Late January, early February, and I ain't really looked through this one yet. So I'm just gonna, do some videos, or do a video on these books. I'm gonna go through and got my sticky notes here and a good old ink pen. I'm gonna go through and mark pages and stuff of interesting guns, whether they be old or still in current production and whatnot, and see what I can find interesting, and we will look into these books here. So let us begin. Alright, I'm starting with the Gun Digest 2008 62nd edition. I'll just let y'all see the title here, who made it, all that, because I'm sure somewhere this book could still be available for purchase in case you all want to go out and buy it when you're able to, or if you happen upon it somewhere. I've got it marked with 6 sticky notes. I'm only going to do 6 things, and each one that I found interesting. And I'm starting with this one, the 2008 one, and not the 2001 or 2003 one, because this was the one that I looked at the most when I was younger. About, let's just say between sophomore, junior year of high school. And this is kind of what got me interested in semi-automatics, this book here. Because I already had my Mauser. I was infatuated with it during that time, and then this book here, I got it at the summer between 12 and 13, I believe, there between my sophomore and junior year, and I got this, and this is what got me interested in the semi-autos. I'll explain why, but first, post-it note one. This one has a article in here about the limited edition classic Remington 700s. Now that is what my dad's Remington 700 308 is. His is a limited edition classic. It was a one-time run, and they had several of these from what it looks like here from 1981 till 2005, and my dad got one of the last ones they made. And his, of course, for those of you who have been on the channel for a while and have seen it, he doesn't get it out and shoot it much, and for good reason, because it's a limited edition. His was the 2005 308 Winchester model there, if you can all see it. It's got a little article on that particular one that he owns. And of course it has entries for all the other models that Remington made in their limited edition classics. It has the 1996 375 H&H Magnum, the 1997 280 Remington. In 2004 they made one an 8x57mm Mauser, right there, article there. And that is pretty interesting. The Remington 700 and 8mm. Also had one in 7mm 8 Remington in 2001 and 8mm Remington Magnum, and then there's a whole another page right here, 2 pages worth of other models, limited edition Remington 700s that they ran during that time period, that decade there, I'd say, or 2 decades rather. It ended in 2005, and my dad got the 308 Winchester version. Okay, Sticky note 2 Another interesting article here in the book. Now, in my younger days, I had my Argentine 1909 Mauser 7.65 by 53 millimeter. I loved it, but I was looking for the semi-autos, because that's what everybody was shooting on YouTube. And I had that Milsurp rifle, but I wasn't really interested in the other Milsurp rifles. So looking back at it now, and having flipped through it just a minute ago to mark all these pages, I seen this article here on the Swiss K31. Has a whole article over the K31. Talks about the bolts. Probably goes in depth about the rifle and barrel too. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to have to go back and read it. And it ends right here. But yeah, a big old article on the K31 that I didn't know was in here until now. So now I'm going to have to go back and read this whole thing about the K31, because the K31, from everything I've read and seen on YouTube, is a very accurate bolt gun. The Swiss know how to make their rifles. They also got the K, well, it wouldn't be a K, they got the 1911 too, which is a longer version of this. And I've been seeing those for sale everywhere. And I've always wanted one after I learned what they were. But now I never knew that this article was in here till now. So now I'm going to have to go back and read this whole thing and see what they say about it in this. Be very quite interesting. The K31, a very good Swiss rifle. I've always wanted one. But I found that interesting in this particular book. Alright, in this passage here, we got the CZs. Let me bring the book up and back my camera out. Okay, my camera's backed out all it can go. Got some CZ75s. Now I have this marked simply because back in 2008, it says right here, the CZ75 SPO1, they had two models of it. They had the SPO1, this says right here, it says SPO1 9mm black polymer 19+1, and then they had the SPO1 Shadow. I'm not sure if that's just those two typical, like they just had those two listed, or if the price I'm about to read off went for the metal model too, but they had it for $5.95, the SPO1. It's not, the picture isn't in the book. They just have the CZ75B decocker here, the CZ7585 Cadet, the 97B, and the CZ85 and the CZ100. But they don't have the SPO1 like the picture of it, but they have the listing of it here. And it only went for $595 back in 2008. And that would be a really cool price to find one at that price these days, because I see the SPO1s going from like 600, like 95 to 700, and it might be steeper or lower in some places, especially after this cuckoo virus gets out of here. I'm sure prices will rise, and have to end up paying more for them. But back in 2008, you could get an SPO1 for $595, and I thought that was pretty cool in comparison to today's price. Okay, post-it note number 4. Now, when I was younger, I kind of glanced over these because I just saw these as generic AR-15s. And I liked the AR-15 back then, but I was more interested in the AKs and those types of semi-autos. But they got some Armalite rifles here. Now, I'm not sure if Armalite still makes these, but they have the Armalite M15A2 up here. Kind of looks like an M16A2. They have an Armalite AR-10A4. Now, that one's pretty cool looking, the A4 there. AR-10A4. And then what really caught my eye going back through this and looking is they have Armalite had a AR-180B. The 180B. The full auto version of it was called the AR-18. That's a very interesting rifle. I had done some research and looking into them there a couple years ago, and I can't remember all the specifics, but I think it was supposed to be a competitor for the AR-15 style rifles, and it lost out. But it's a very unique firearm. You don't see a lot of them anymore. Burnell's is making new reproductions, new versions of it for people who are interested in it. I've been interested in them too. But it's a very unique firearm, and in Terminator 1, Arnold's Terminator, the T-800, used this to shoot up the police station. Yeah, so the AR-180 has some some pop culture love going on for it in regards to people who like the old Terminator, the first Terminator movie. And looking at it here too, I noticed it has some Arsenal AK-47 variants listed. Now there's no pictures, and on the next page there's no pictures of the Arsenals. But I'll read them off here. They had Arsenal USA SSR 56 and 7.62 by 3.9 with a barrel length of 16.25 for $565. Arsenal USA SSR 74-2 and 5.45 by 39 with a barrel length of 16.5 inches, and it was for $500, $499. And then they had a Arsenal USA SSR 85C-2 and 7.62 by 3.9, and for $500, $44.99, or not $44.99, $4.99. I'm tongue twisted today, but yeah, they had back then Arsenal AKs were a lot cheaper, so I found that interesting there in those three columns when I was looking over this page. All right, now we've reached the 2 pages that when I was probably about 17 years old, 16, 17, somewhere in there, that I looked at constantly. I stared at this page for a long time simply because this Century Arms M70 AB2 Serbian AK M47 variant, just, I don't know, I was in love with the thing. It just looked cool, you know, because it had the 3-hole handguard and the flip-up grenade launcher sight, or gas cutoff. Yeah, it was a grenade launcher sight, but it was a gas cutoff for the gas system, and then the folding stock. That was unique to me because, like, see here, you have a washer too, high cap, and like they have the standard Russian handguards, and I just like the uniqueness of the AB2 sitting there. And I would sit there and I'd look at that and I'd be like, oh, I'll get one of those one day. Probably still will. I still really like them. They've kind of dried up now. I mean, yeah, you can still find them, but they're different from these. I forget what they did to them. I think they removed the grenade launcher sight on the gas block on the newer ones. They removed the grenade launcher sight on the gas block, and something else about them's different from the original AB2s that were imported. And let's see, let me look it up here in the listing here. How much did it, yes, Century International M70 AB2 Sporter Rifle. They only wanted $480 for it back then. So yeah, that was pretty pretty appealing. Then that Sandy Hook shooting happened there. I think it was my junior year, December. Well, no, it happened in my. I'm getting my timelines messed up here, but that Sandy Hook shooting happened, and I wanted another bolt action, and ended up getting my Remington 700 243 after that Sandy Hook shooting happened. That's been several years ago, so my memory on the whole ordeal is foggy. But I didn't end up getting my Century Arms M70 AB2. I had the money saved up for it, but something made me want to get another bolt gun. I think it was for hunting or something, or I don't know. I think I was more concerned about ammo prices. I can't remember. But something swayed me away from getting an AK to getting another bolt gun, and that's how I ended up with my Remington 700 ADL 243. Not that I don't like my ADL 243. I love it. It's a great rifle. But I had originally wanted a AK variant. But something in there swayed me away from it. I can't remember what it was. I changed my mind, got indecisive, and went with a Remington 700 instead of an AK. Another interesting firearm here on the page, and you got the AR-15s as well. But this Century Arms AES Ten high cap here, RPK variant. Let me see how much they wanted for this back then. They wanted $450. That is like a steal compared to them today. I've seen these AES 10s. I think they're called the 10B now. They're different from the imported ones. Let's see, this one was imported from Romania, I think. It doesn't say. I'm going on memory. But these today go for over $700 if you find them. These AES 10 RPKs. I've seen them listed like at Classic Firearms and other places here and there, and boy, would I be glad to find one for $450 today. That would be a steal. That would be a steal for sure. They also have sitting here a Colt Match Target lightweight. Let's see, lightweight. I'm looking for it. Colt. Some of these are mislabeled. I think they have this for the Colt Match Target model rifle. They got the names mixed up on them. I don't know. I don't see the listing for that Colt AR-15 there down here. The bird assaulting the garage outside. But yeah, these two pages right here I looked at quite a lot when I was in my late teens, there in the middle way of high school. And then number 6 back here, I'll just go ahead and show. Got all these FAL variants. I gandered at those quite a bit too when I was younger. They had one called the Gray Wolf here, a sniper variant. I don't think DSA still makes this one. It's called the Gray Wolf, SA-58. And they wanted, back then, $2,120 for it. They also had a replica of the T-48, which is the U.S. trial rifle that went up against the M14 and lost. Had a few other ones. They had the DSA SA-58 G1 right there. It's so interesting going back looking at this and seeing what they had then compared to what they got now. And they still had the SA-58 OSW. Let's see what the price for it was back then. The OSW went for $18.45. I'm sure the price has probably tripled on that since then. I haven't looked in a while. And then number 6 back here. Got more AR-15 variants and stuff. Number 6 back here, Springfield M1A. Now, when I was a kid, like in my late teens, I was looking at the AKs. I would come back here and look at this M14 every now and then, and I never thought I would own one. Let's see, that is the wood stock model. Let's see, standard. Do they have the standard there with the wood stock? No, they don't, but it's the same deal. But the prices for them back then were about the same as they are now. See, I got the different models listed there. The cheapest one was about $14.98. I know the cheapest one there was $13.79. And the prices on those have they kind of go up and down depending. But yeah, I'd sit there and I'd be enamored by the M1A M14. I never thought I'd end up owning one, but you know, life is strange. And I ended up with one and I couldn't be happier. So that was the 6 interesting things on this book. I don't think I'll get to the other ones today. This video is already running kind of long. So I'll come back another day and hit up the other ones. But for now, you know, during this downtime and the weather being unpredictable, it's going to rain, I'll do videos like this. I'll put this in book recommendations, my playlist, so people can see it. Well, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hopefully, we're supposed to get. Hopefully, the weather will clear up and I can get to the range. I don't know how the weather's supposed to be tomorrow. Maybe if it's real nice early in the morning, me and my dad would sneak over and I could do an ammo test with that Rough Rider because I'm wanting to try some American Eagle 22 through it. Anyway, see you guys all in the next video.